Still ahead, the Oscar-winning star of the new movie Green Book, Mahershala Ali.
Welcome back. So, the guy in the White House did an interview for the Daily Caller insisting that people commit voter fraud by casting ballot, changing their clothes and hats in their car, and then returning to the polling places to vote again.
Whoopi, it's true. I voted last week as myself, and I'm going to vote this week as Bette Midler.
I am so glad you said that, because now I know I'm alone. I'm not alone in my voting. So last week this was me at the midterms. My first trip to the polls. It's the second trip, and then I voted the second time. And then, yes, I voted a third time, too. Go ahead, Joe.
They let you in all 3 times?
Well, no, I went to my car and changed my clothes.
But he says that with no evidence, right? The thing is, research has been done. Remember, he started that commission to look into voter fraud, and they found nothing.
Forget the evidence. The man said people are changing their clothes.
Yeah!
It's like you suddenly, you like Superman. You like, let me change my clothes.
But how could he say that? Like, lie like that without
the same way he said this. He also said that it's...
people believe him. They believe him. He throws this stuff out. Let's see who believes this. And then they believe him.
And they do. He also says that it's ridiculous that ID isn't required to vote because you even need ID to buy cereal at the grocery store.
I actually didn't believe that he said that until I read it myself.
He said it.
Which he said before,
I would like to know how many people in the audience needed an ID to buy Fruit Loops today.
And I guess he doesn't realize that there are places when you vote, like when I voted, they wanted to make sure it was me. They asked me for my ID. I showed it.
Yeah.
You know, so they do check ID, but, you know, listen, man, just because you may lose isn't a good enough reason for you to accuse people of trying to steal an election.
Yeah.
It's not a good enough reason to, because voter fraud was something many people had to deal with, folks trying to make happen. Folks in Georgia, you know, it's like, listen, if you're the guy that's making the decisions about who wins and you're running, people are going to question it. I don't know what he thought was going to happen.
Well, you know, I think there's something's going on with him because his tweets are coming.
You're talking about the new guy.
I'm talking about Trump.
Okay.
Every 10 minutes they're coming like labor pains, you know? It's like... And the tweets are so crazy.
What is he saying?
I'll read you one of them. This is real. I'm not kidding on this one. These are angry people, including the highly conflicted Bob Mueller, who worked for Obama for 8 years. He also worked for Bush. Hello. Why? They won't even look at all the bad acts and crimes on the other side. A total witch hunt, all caps. A total witch hunt like no other in American history.
Is this about the voting?
This is about... No,
this is about Mueller.
This is about Mueller. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's remember that, you know, for the past month or so, his lawyers and he has been answering questions. That Mueller.
Well, they've been drafting the questions.
But
the answers,
right? And he's under oath, is he not?
He would be.
So he's petrified that he's committing perjury in penmanship.
But back to the voting, there are stats. The rules are different all over the country, but according to the Brennan Center for Justice, it pegged voter impersonation rates between 0.0003% and 0.0025%. So basically,
who has phone booths to change clothes?
You're more likely to be hit by lightning than you are to commit fraud the way he's described it. And let me just say this as well, because you guys have talked about, you joking about changing your clothes. I was turned away from the polls, and I don't look like the way that you're often described. I'm not older, and I didn't immigrate into this country. My family did at one point, but it was when my dad was running in 2012, and I was so excited to go vote for him. And I waited, and I registered with my husband, and we finally got 2 hours in line. We got to the front. Went through and they told me that I couldn't, that my name wasn't on the list. And so I had to walk away. I was ashamed and I lied about it. Up until this point, I've always said I voted for my dad in the presidential election. I wrote his name in because I'm embarrassed. I was embarrassed to be turned away.
Did they say why they turned you away?
They just said, we don't have you in file. And now they do. Shockingly, now they
Wow.
do. So it happens.
It does
But I will
happen.
tell you that because I've experienced it, it is a terrible thing to feel. Because every single person that's a citizen of this country deserves a right to vote, and we should do everything we can to make that happen.
One thing that was, I mean, when's the last time Donald Trump went to the grocery store to buy cereal? I mean, years and years and years ago, right? If ever. But the fact that he said that you need an ID to buy cereal, and the people that support him are somewhere in the middle of America, well, all over the country, but those that do go to this to buy cereal, they know that's not true because they just bought their Fruit Loops, right? So they know it's not true. What do they feel when they read that or they hear
say
that?
he misspoke.
Yeah, he misspoke.
They'll say he misspoke.
Oh, he's always
And
saying
that what he's
stuff
trying
like
to
that.
say.
That's so crazy.
That's locker room talk, whatever.
And that what he's trying to say is it's easier to buy cereal, or that you need an ID for easier things than
the
voting.
bottom line is these recounts are important. If you won, you'll know you won. If you didn't, you'll know you didn't.
Yeah.
And again, you're counting ballots from folks who are overseas.
Yes.
You're counting ballots from the military. You're counting ballots of American citizens who have voted, and they have every right to expect that their vote is going to be counted.
Exactly. You know what? I worry for him. I'm worried for Donald. You want to know why?
You're worried for
I'm worried for Donald because what if you need a photo ID to buy cheeseburgers? Then
then
he'll change his tune.
Joy, don't go to his level.
I'm at his level.
Joy, don't go down in the mud.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
If you would like to thank Apple and Eve for providing our entire studio audience with a bottle of their delicious juice.
The media is rallying around CNN's lawsuit against the White House for pulling Jim Acosta's press pass, including you-know-who's go-to network, Fox News.
Wow.
Now, that has to be a little shocking to him. Wow. You think he'll start calling them the fake news now, too? Or does he really need someplace to go?
I'm not surprised at all. You guys know this. I worked at Fox for a number of years, and there are two divisions. There's the opinionated, and then there's the news division. And I think what they prove time and time again is they are not a mouthpiece for the White House. I'm talking about the news side. And Brett Baer, Martha McCallum, Shep Smith. I know these people. They are the best in the business, and I think what message they were sending is we care about the First Amendment, we care about democracy, and we want to make that loud and clear. And frankly, if it's a Democrat in the office next time around, you want to make sure that you keep that consistent, because that could happen to somebody else.
Well, let's hope not.
I think probably would also not force them, but move them to do it is because Trump said after pulling Jim's pass, he said, as far as I'm concerned, I haven't made that decision, meaning pulling others. It could be others also. And I think people started thinking, oh my goodness, what if our Cecilia Vega gets pulled? Because ABC News is also supporting Jim and supporting CNN.
And he turned on her one day.
Yes. So, what if it happens to Peter Alexander? What if it happens to Shep? So I think that's where it's coming from. But what I found very interesting in reading some of the briefs and listening to reading about the arguments, remember the White House and Sarah Sanders in particular said Jim Acosta struck that young girl. He assaulted her.
Yeah. Not true.
Sort of disseminating that doctored video. That argument was made at all in court.
No way.
They completely, thank you that they did that, but they completely abandoned that argument. And I thought that said a lot.
Well, we've never seen press conferences like these, the ones that he has.
Yeah.
And some people say, well, when he attacks one of the reporters, or when Sarah Sanders lies, which she does for the president, that they should all walk out. I don't think that would work because they'll say, good, we don't have to be accountable to the press.
Yeah, they can't.
But what I would suggest to them, and it's probably not original, but if one of them asks a question and they don't get the answer, the next one should answer.
Yeah, I've
the
suggested
next one.
that
The
also.
next one.
Yeah.
Until they answer the freaking question.
They're certainly more united together. And I do wonder what this judge is going to do, because the question really is, can the White House just summarily do something like this? And really, that's not the standard.
No.
Well, here's the problem, because he's pissed, according to what he was arguing, because he's rude. Said Costa's rude. And is it free to the press when somebody comes in and starts screaming questions and won't sit down? Look.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't answer them.
The bottom line is the press's job is to press you.
Yeah.
It's their job. That's what they're supposed to do. They're not always nice, and neither are you. Okay? So let's put it in perspective.
I never connected the word press before until this just said
but
that.
that's what they're supposed to. That's their job. Jim Acosta pressed everybody. That's his job.
Yeah, that's what people forget about Jim. I mean, he was he covered the war in Iraq from Baghdad. He also, his father's a Cuban refugee, and he actually went to Cuba on Cuban soil and pressed Raul Castro about the human rights violation. This is what he does, and this is what every great reporter does. You speak truth to power, and you ask those questions. And this president just doesn't like it.
What he does not like is he does not like to be asked questions he doesn't want to answer. And quite honestly, we don't care as the American public whether you like answering. No president wants to be pressed.
No, Obama has said he didn't like the White House.
No, because you want it to be a smooth ride, but that's not the real world. That's their job, and if you can't handle it, get out the kitchen, man.
He cannot handle it. He cannot handle any of the stress that he's going through right now.
It's crazy.
He needs to I think that Trump needs to resign soon because I'm worried about his health.
I love about this country is the balance of power, and thank goodness we have a balance of power, but the role of the press and the role of the White House, because you need both to survive, and we need a healthy system that works. But I was going to mention Reagan, because looking back, there were a number of exchanges between Ronald Reagan and the press, and you know what he did? He kind of had fun with it. He would make jokes, and he would take it a different place. You got to be savvy with them.
Did the same
you got to
thing.
learn how to work with them.
No, you have to have a sense of humor to recognize that.
Yep. Be self-deprecating.
We'll be right back.
Award-winning comedian, actress, and longtime host of the daytime talk show The View, Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg Live. Saturday, November 17th, 8 p.m. at Sands Event Center. Don't miss comedian Whoopi Goldberg. Tickets on sale, Ticketmaster.com, the Sands box office, or by phone, 800-745-3000.
Now showing at the Everhart Museum, Hunt Slonim. This exhibition highlights a series of works created early in his career. Hunt combines abstract expressionist techniques with mysticism and animals. American visionary John F. Kennedy's life and times. The dramatic scope of Kennedy's life is evident in these photographs. The images highlight his personal charisma and political accomplishments. For more information, visit everhart-museum.org.
This is a rarity. We want to say congratulations to Robert Bailey. He's the retired government worker who was just revealed as the Powerball winner out of Harlem, who gets half of a $700 million jackpot. His cut is about $344 million. But you know what I love? He played the same numbers for 25 years. Played the same numbers for 25 years. So, you know, when they say, you know, what can you lose?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Do you
Sometimes
see his smile? That smile is a $343 million, $878,000 smile.
That's right.
I mean, it's like,
Unbelievable.
That's right. He's like, I could buy your building. You know, it's a wonderful. Congratulations,
Wonderful.
man. And out of Harlem. You rarely see it out of Harlem.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was
amazing.
It made me smile. I was really glad
And he
for
was
him.
so dedicated for all those years.
Yeah.
It finally paid off.
Nice.
You gotta love
grandmother
it.
always played the same numbers.
I play the same numbers all the time. Yes.
Yeah, my grandmother
because,
played
you know,
the same one.
What's the worst that could happen?
That's true.
Nothing. You just lose $10.
Yeah. You know, for some folks that's a lot, but then just play $1.
$1.
Yeah.
I feel like
I mean,
I've
although it's
never
$2
done it,
now,
so I
it's-
just
Has it
made
gone
that
up?
It went up.
I have no idea. I've never done it.
It's kind of
It
fun, you
went
know.
up.
I use the family, you know, all the family numbers. And so I put them in, and they said, well, what are we going to do if we win? I said, well, y'all are not going to see me. Because I noticed that some of you became we.
Yeah.
You know, I'm picking the numbers. I'm going out getting the check. And you talk about we. Because there's a lot of y'all now, see. But they, you know, and now they can all actually buy their own tickets.
That's right.
Because they're of age.
Yeah.
It's kind of great. So last night was country music's biggest night, the CMAs. Garth Brooks kicked it off by asking the audience to celebrate the lives that were lost in the mass shooting last week at a bar in California. But one topic that was really kind of blatantly avoided by hosts Brad Paisley and Carrie Underwood was overt politics. I think it was a welcome break.
Oh, CMAs are there are two places I go to not hear politics or anything Trump related. It's the Food Network, and it's one time a year with the CMAs. I love the Food Network. It's like
I do too.
It's such a comfort. I watch it
love
almost
Food
every day when I
Network.
get home because it's calming.
HGTV's good too.
But I covered the CMAs a couple of years ago, and I did the red carpet, and I will never forget that experience because they are the most humble people in that industry. They drove themselves up to the red carpet in their pickup trucks, you know, the American flags hanging out the back. They're just the most talented, real people, and I left there thinking, you know what, that is the best of our country right there. They really
it's
are.
part of the best. It's part of the best. You know, listen, country music, soul music, it's all related.
Yes.
Gospel music, it's all related. This is all one music, you know.
See,
it's great.
Maybe I'm overreacting to this, but I believe that everybody should be involved in politics right now. I really do. I don't believe that you get a pass just because you're a performer.
Yeah, but not everybody wants to watch it on television.
I get that, but
okay, that's what she's talking about.
My personal belief is that we are in an emergency. The democracy is at risk, and that everybody should be speaking up.
Well,
everybody.
But as we saw, people came out. People voted. People came out. They
I'm
are
happy
engaged.
for that.
But I do think that sometimes, it's like when I do my shows, I don't want to talk about
That's
politics.
fine.
I want to talk about me.
Well, you talk about it here.
What do you think,
all
Joy?
that.
I mean, because we've had guests on our show like Reba McEntire, Dolly Parton,
Yes.
and they've said, you know, I think perhaps they feel that their brand will be tarnished, and they also have said, you know, I don't want to bring politics in. I just want to entertain.
Listen, I know that if I stayed neutral, I would make 10 times more money than I earn, tell you the truth. But I make the decision to speak my mind and give my opinion because that's what I believe should be done. And, you know, I'll say one more
You feel
thing.
like everybody would do. Yes.
I believe
Everybody
it. And
should
a lot
be
of these
able
people
to
who are
make a
saying they're
decision.
neutral have made enough money. But let me say this also. 30% of millennials voted in this last election.
Yeah.
Somebody said the other, that was great. But there's 70% did not. And that upsets me because somebody said the other day, if young people voted, they could rule the world. And they are not taking it seriously. We are in a crisis situation.
Well, we haven't actually made them take it seriously.
Well,
You know, because we only talk this way when stuff comes down to the line. Perhaps if we started the conversation before we needed to, maybe that would help. But I also think that not everybody is cut out to be politically out with folks. And also, some of those ladies, you know, we come from a time where you didn't discuss your politics. So there's a lot of reasons.
I think that was Dolly Parton's point.
I think,
she just wanted to.
And
she
by the
wants
way,
to do what she
country
does,
music has a lot of fans that don't think we're in a dire situation.
Although Willie
There are
Nelson,
people
on the
that
other
are
hand,
happy.
is very political.
That's right.
So I guess it depends on
It depends
who
on
you
the
are.
person.
I
Some
encourage
can
it.
and some can't. And nobody's mad at the folks who can't. You do it a different
no,
way. You just do
they
it
should do what
differently.
they want to do. It's my position.
Yes,
all.
that's Joy's position.
That's me.
That and, well, never mind. We'll be right back.
Next, Oscar winner Mahershala Ali on what we can learn about America's racist past in his new movie, Green Book, and why it's still not behind us. Monday on The View. Oh, get ready for...
I just got to share some of my favorite things with you.
That's right. We partnered with vendors to bring you the View Your Deal Oprah edition.
Please welcome Mahershala Ali. So that song was "Drown in My Own Tears" by Don Shirley, the musician you play in the new Green Book, and it's inspired by a trip that he took. Tell everybody about it.
And Don Shirley was also a fan of yours and attended several of your shows, by the way. But Tony Vallelonga, an Italian man from the Bronx, and Don Shirley, an accomplished concert pianist, start here in New York, and they go on a tour throughout the South. Very, very different people. My character, Don Shirley, lives on top of Carnegie Hall, speaks 8 languages.
He's so refined.
Refined,
yes.
Amazing man, very complicated and dynamic. Tony Vallelonga, played by Viggo Mortensen, is a bit of a brute, you know, tough guy, bouncer, a boxer, and he needs to hire him to sort of be a bodyguard for him going through the South. And Tony is racist. And so it's the evolution of both the characters is really beautiful and dynamic and revealing about just humanity. And they end up still being very different by the end of the film, but understanding so much more about each other because they share intimate space and they talk, and their guard begins to drop, and they really connect, and you see the humanity in each of those characters.
There's a kind of a lesson in there for today, isn't there?
No doubt, no doubt. You know, because I saw you guys going back and forth about, you know, soul music and country music and everything, and like, you know, and I think that's the nature of this is actually a great space because you can have, you know, these wonderful conversations, like
with
people
respect.
with respect,
Exactly.
and people who come from different communities or different cultures, different opinions, and we got to have those things.
Were you surprised when you discovered what a Green Book was?
Yeah, I was.
So, do y'all know what a Green Book was?
Yeah.
Well, you tell them.
So, a Green Book was originally put together by a man who worked in the post office, an African-American man by the name of Victor Hugo Green. And he basically had a list of because it was word of mouth at that point.
Right.
So where I know there's a place you can stay in Louisiana near such and such. You can get gas here.
Black, right.
So if you're traveling while black, this is a list of places you can stay to get from California to that funeral you got to go to in Beaumont, Texas.
My grandmother told me about it because she grew up in Macon, Georgia, and she told me that it could be the difference between life and death.
It's sad that we needed something like that, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, it is.
We did, but I mean, the realities were we weren't welcome everywhere.
Right.
You know, when you have white only drinking fountains, you know that you need to figure out if you want to travel, you need to know where you can go, what beaches you can go to, where you can go, what bathrooms. It was the nature of the country. Thank God somebody thought about it because things could have been a lot worse without it.
Yes.
Well, you and your co-star Viggo are terrific in this film. This is just a beautiful film, and it's nuanced, and it really is applicable to what we're talking about almost every day on the show. You two have a lot of funny moments in the film. But during a Q&A for the film last week, Viggo was talking about how the N-word was used more casually back in the 60s, and he actually said the word.
Yes.
Yes, and there was backlash, and he's apologized, but what does that do in terms of what's the impact on the conversation?
You know, in the moment it was anytime the debate can be had within black culture about the appropriateness of the word, that should be left in black culture to have that debate, the black community. But anytime a non-black person, and especially with the history of the word, the history of our country, says it in a space, there's a mini explosion that goes off within you. Because you suddenly having to process the intention behind it, the relationship behind it. So in this case, and with Viggo, who I absolutely love and adore, there's a difference between racism, insensitivity, and a lack of awareness. And anytime someone, black, white, Asian, Latino, whoever, exhibits a moment of a lack of awareness about something, and then they quickly apologize and get it, part of us moving on and healing as a country and as a people is embracing that apology, not having no probationary period about it, like really embracing that apology and being like, all right, brother, you could actually be closer as a result of that, because then they understand something on a deeper level. Than if he had never said it, maybe he would have never had that deeper understanding of how it could in some ways disrupt something.
So I just want to understand, he was talking about the film.
Let me actually tell you what happened. What happened. And the reason I know the context of what he was saying was because we've been doing this for a long time, for a month. And he and I both have said, if you remove, and this is exactly what he was trying to get at, if you remove the N-word from your vocabulary, it doesn't mean that you are not harboring racist thoughts or supporting policies that are racist or discriminatory. And so, expressing that, he's saying that it doesn't disqualify you from being a racist, and he said the full word in saying it.
So you mean now we can't say the word? Because I am, if you are going to explain this period of time, you've got to tell people what you're talking about. I don't think he was calling anybody out. He was talking about the time and the words. So
But there was tremendous backlash.
I understand, and I think we have to be really careful what we're backlashing about. Oh, sugar.
Yeah, we gotta go.
Gotta go.
The movie is great.
Yes, great. The movie is brilliant. Listen, you have to. Is this the first time you've come on? All right, you have to come back.
I would love to. Yes.
So look, you have to come back because not only you're a fine actor, you're just a good person.
Thank you.
Green Book, go see it. It's in select theaters tomorrow. It opens wide November 21st. You do yourself a favor. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
The View is live. Avenatti arrested. The latest on Stormy Daniels' lawyer getting accused of domestic violence. How he's speaking out.
I have never struck a woman.
Fraudulent claims. The president's wild statements about voter fraud. And why does he think you need an ID to buy a box of cereal? Plus, Oscar winner Mahershala Ali on finding heart and humor in his new movie about racism in America, Green Book. Hot topics are on the table with Whoopi, Abby Huntsman, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, and Meghan McCain. Now, let's get things started.
Thanking the firefighters in California who are putting their lives on the line to battle these fires that are breaking out. These guys, men and women, have been working their tails off. I can't imagine what is happening with them because, firefighters, they're going to protect you from fire and stuff. And there were so many things they couldn't protect. And they have been doing such a stellar job. There's not enough letters in the alphabet to say thank you for what they're doing because I'm telling you, they've never seen a fire like this.
It's true.
They've never seen a fire like this.
There's 300 people missing.
Yes, that's from the
Terrible.
Because embers, those embers start floating and there's been no real rain in California really in the last 4 years. They're going through a drought, which is why when the guy in the White House was like, we're going to take their funding. It's like, dude, what are you talking about?
People are really suffering. I got an email last night from my friend Lorraine Toussaint, who I believe you know. She lost her home in Malibu, and they have cordoned off the area so she can't get to her house to see what is going on or even to try to grab anything.
She may be able to get through
But
today.
she's safe.
There are places
That's
that
the
are
hard part.
still,
I think it should be lucky to be alive because
She's
it
safe.
really is
Exactly.
horrible.
I also
What a
think
way-
about the family of the firefighters when they kiss their spouse goodbye in the morning.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen throughout the day.
Yeah.
It's incredible what they're doing.
Yeah.
And celebrities have really stepped up to help too. which
Well,
is really
celebrities
fun.
generally are pretty good because it turns out they're just people.
Yeah.
And a lot of them live there.
Just saying, you know.
You're just a person, Whoopi?
Yeah, I know it's shocking.
It's crazy.
I know it's shocking, but people were like, well, celebrities rebuild. It's not that. You lose a home, you lose everything that you worked for. A lot of these folks, I know some of them have made a lot of money. They've earned it.
Yeah.
They worked their tails off to get where they are, and fire comes and erases everything. Thank God that, the fires seem to be under control, but I just can't say thank you enough. They saved my daughter's house.
Oh.
So I just wanted to say thank you because it's amazing. And one of the hottest topics this morning, of course, is the arrest of Stormy Daniels' lawyer, Michael Avenatti, on suspicion of domestic violence. Here's what he had to say after he was released on bail. Take a look.
I have never struck a woman. I never will strike a woman. I have been an advocate for women's rights my entire career, and I'm going to continue to be an advocate. I am not going to be intimidated from stopping what I am doing.
So TMZ falsely reported that his estranged wife was the accuser, but then she came out and said it wasn't her, and that Avenatti never abused her, and his other ex-wife said, me either. So when you first heard it, what was your
who
response?
did accuse him? Who did accuse him?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't
But
know.
someone accused him.
And Stormy Daniels has put out a statement as well. She said we should all, because that's who he represents, of course. She said we should all respect judgment until investigation. And investigation, Michael has said he welcomes, is complete, and that's what I'm going to do. But of course, I do not condone violence against women. And if these allegations prove true, I will be seeking new representation.
Well, I would go along with that.
Yeah.
We know him. He comes on the show. It was very upsetting to hear this, very disappointing. If it proves to be true, I will disavow him. I think he should take a polygraph test just to clear the air. I think that would help him. Yeah. And then we'll see what happens.
If this is true, and we don't know much of anything at this point, but if this turns out to be true, I think he deserves to be raked through the coals because he's been sort of this champion of the Me Too movement. Although I will say the same thing I said during the Kavanaugh investigation, that I am a true believer in due process. And what drives me crazy is the hypocrisy in these moments when it's who you like that you want to believe. And I think if you believe in due process with Kavanaugh, you should also believe in due process with Michael Avenatti. It should be the same.
It should be
And it has to be
for everybody.
I was very disappointed as well when I heard about this because he's a friend to the show. But you have a police spokesman saying that the victim had visible injuries, and he was arrested. $50,000 bail. That means that the officers had probable cause to arrest, and so we don't know a lot. We don't know who the alleged victim is, but if true, I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed, and I agree with you. We would have to disavow him, and he is a friend to the show, but you cannot abuse women.
Yeah.
You cannot do it. I'm not saying that he did, but I'm not saying he did, but
I like a court case. As you know, I've always been an advocate of take him to court.
Yeah.
Take him to court and do
Conduct
the
investigation.
do the investigation. And if it proves to be true, then all bets are off.
Yeah.
So we'll let you know when we know.
When we know more.
But it's
You know what? By the way, no one's mentioned this woman either, because he is the topic of conversation, and who knows whatever happens here, whether it's true or not. But if it is true, like what she's going through and the pain that she's feeling right now,
and I hope they
is
don't
horrible.
mention her because victims of domestic violence are very traumatized by the domestic violence, and we don't need the media sort of putting an extra layer on it and staking out her home and doing that kind of thing. So I hope that we don't know. I hope that it's an investigation, a confidential one is investigated, and that that she isn't put through.
There's such a rush
what we
to
see,
be
what we
first
saw
to report
Dr.
a
Ford
story.
go through. I hope we don't see something like that.
Back to her house. I don't think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, but I'm glad you mentioned the media because TMZ was the first. I got the alert on my phone yesterday, and I always believe TMZ most of the time because they were the first to report Michael Jackson's death. They've reported the first on many big
They got
stories.
this one wrong.
And they got this one wrong,
Yeah.
and they corrected themselves. But I do think the media, to your point, Sonny, is part of the problem because they are in such a rush to be the first to break a story that they will publish whatever they hear first instead of waiting to get the actual facts. And we just don't know much yet. So I think the media plays a role.
And it's also the social media. I mean, again, remember what Dr. Ford went through and continues to go through because she had the courage to stand up.
Well,
I hope this
we'll
woman
keep an
does
eye
not
on it.
go
We'll
through
keep
that.
an eye on it because, you know,
We're watching.
it's just not going to,
We're
the
watching.
world is watching.
Yeah.
The world is watching. And, you know, of course, we'll be back with more Hot Topics.
Still ahead, United Media. How TV and cable news networks on both sides of the aisle are backing CNN's lawsuit against the White House for pulling Jim Acosta's press pass. This November,
Baby!
that's how I roll, okay? You know this is the place to be heard. And the stars are coming out to voice their view. Mahershala Ali, Viola Davis, Sarah Silverman, Candice Bergen, Michael B. Jordan, Kristen Chenoweth, Sean Hayes, and don't forget about Bernie. Sanders, that is. And you know he'll have a lot to say. And here comes Queer Eye's Fab Five. Oh, yes. It's a must-see view all month long.
There you go.
Right here. Still ahead, the Oscar-winning